Alright. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Force over here, and welcome back to Ace Attorney Investigations Production. Last time, we have who it was that tried to frame, Kay for the death of Manny Cochin. Today, we finish what we started. Begin. March 15th, 12:07 a.m. Theatrum Neutralis Lobby. So now we know who the Yatagarasu really was. And yet there remains much to this case that needs to be resolved. Like how the weapons crossed country lines, for example. I just realized how, let me try something here, actually. See, I want to make sure that I am a little bit loud, but not too loud, because obviously, let's try like that. Let's try right there. Hopefully it's not too terribly loud. Like how the weapons cross country lines, for example. The two countries have incredibly strict security systems and entry procedures. Short of a miracle, it's impossible for someone to have smuggled them in. Smuggling them in, huh? We will need to open a new line of investigation on just this aspect alone. But before we do, I would like to go through my evidence once more. Unnecessary evidence has been removed. Remaining evidence has been rearranged. So let's see here. This is what we have. Now we can see what's on that tape Detective Bad gave us. This piece of evidence from the KG8 incident, hidden from sight for 10 long years. I just know that this is related to the current case somehow. Detective Gumshoe, if you could please play the tape for us. Sure thing, sir. This man, it's Manny Cochin. And he's holding a knife in his hand. This looks like to the victim's own apartment building. At the trial, Mr. Faraday claimed that this piece of footage existed. However, no one could find it. Yes, somehow someone was able to steal it and hide it through Mr. Ernest Amano. I couldn't see how this would have been a definitive piece, and why someone would want to hide it. But it's a piece of evidence of a 10-year-old case. There's no way it's related to this case we're working on now, sir. Actually, I believe it has everything to do with the case we're working on now. The ringleader even went so far as to use Mr. Poltzman to retrieve it. Which means that in this video lies a very inconvenient bit of footage to the ringleader. Where? Where? Wait, what was that? Huh? Huh? That bit you played just now. Please show it to me again. This car. This is something we cannot overlook. Why is that, sir? Looks here, Detective Gumshoe. Looks like we got somebody in the car here. Who's that?
Take that!
Don't you find this section to be particularly of interest? I don't. Oh, wait. Okay. That's quite enough. How could you have mistaken this for an apparition? Oh, that's why. The flag.
Take that!
That's what it is, right? This is the national. Oh, this time. Ambassador Alba. Thank you very much for continuing the investigation, even at this time of night. Ah, if only I was even a tiny bit more careful. This tragedy would never have happened. I am truly sorry. This wasn't your fault, sir. This had nothing to do with how careful you were. You idiot Quarkus! You couldn't chase after a simple thief! Now then, let's get down to the real reason why I came looking for the two of you. I would like you to put the investigation on hold for a while. Can you do that? Excuse me? I heard you've apprehended the thief that turned this embassy upside down. And we are in the middle of an event celebrating our country's reconciliation. We can't exactly have the police and detectives walking around here forever. You're scaring the visitors away, so I hope that you can understand how I feel. But we must finish our investigation and resolve the remaining issues. Why don't we leave the rest of the Alabastian and Babali's police? Ambassador! We are so close! Just a little more and... Miss Von Karma, I'm afraid I've already made up my mind. Others in that land. Is this really where our investigation ends? Shifu! We found Mr. Edgeworth, sir! Shifu! This way! Yo! Agent Lang, you're back on the scene rather quickly. If I laid back and took a break, I'd lose the scent of my prey, Mr. Prosecutor. Agent Lang, why have you returned? Because I have to solve this case, no matter what. Well, I'm sorry to inform you. Don't take this the wrong way. I don't suspect you personally. However, a member of Interpol was just found to be a thief, and so... Under these circumstances, I wish to put your investigation on hold. After all, I believe our own police can handle things from here. They are quite capable. At this rate, our investigation really will come to a close.
Not so fast!
About is... I know who the killer is behind tonight's murder. You... No? Killer? Do you really mean that, Agent Lang? Wolves don't lie. Flashback to all the times we caught him with some certain levels of bullshit out of his mouth. Then who is it? Well, let me first say that I am not talking about Mr. Cochin's murder. That was all shihla. Lang Zi says, the truth lies not at the exit, but rather shines outside the maze itself. The truth is unexpectedly simple. So let me ask you this. Who do you think was Damask 2's killer? I'll tell you who. It was you, Francisco von Karma! I was the killer? Hey, wait! But that's impossible! Yeah! Although that whip is actually quite... Hold your tongue on that ludicrous remark you were about to make. It pretty much, in short form, Gumshoe, shut up. Agent Ryan, are you seriously accusing her of murder? Yeah, I am. He doesn't appear to be joking. Hey sis, I remember that just before Ambassador Alba went into his speech, he called you into his office, right? Yes, he did. But what does that have to do with anything? I'll get him to that. Furthermore, in order to solve both cases, you moved around, bring this case to a close. I'll need to inspect your office one more time. Will you grant me permission? With things as they are, I suppose I don't have much of a choice, do I? Good! Then let's move out. Oh, and don't even think about running away, sis. My pack will be keeping a close eye on you. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. As if I would have any reason to flee. But just so we're clear, your logic had better be sound. Because I'll accept nothing short of a perfect explanation. She seems rather upset, not that I blame her. I expected that you'd accept it no less. But we'll see how long you can keep that nose of yours stuck up in the air like that.
Hold it!
Agent Lang, as someone related to tonight's case, I request that you allow me to take part, and so that I may clean up my superior's mess. I guess I should. The more the merrier, especially when it's the peanut gallery. Oh, in that case I want to join in too. I still haven't seen what it looks like in Alabast yet. If you let Kay in, then you've got to let me in too, pal. I can't sit around and do nothing when Miss Von Karma's in trouble. Hey, Gummy, let's have a competition to see who can save her first, okay? Okay, I'll take you up on that. Oh yeah, I'm fired up and raring to go. As a detective, I don't believe in this is something you're supposed to be excited over. Ha 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 ha! Sounds like this is going to get real interesting. Ambassador Alba, I'll be bringing these kids along for the ride. Very well. But I'd like you to keep in mind that this will be your last chance. I'll have this whole mess cleaned up before you know it. Now let's go. March 15th, 12:53 a.m. at the Boston Embassy, Ambassador's office. Okay. Now, let's first go over the facts one more time. Manny Cochin's body was found over in the Secretariat's office in Babal. The weapon that took his life was one of Alabast's ornamental knives. And then, the body of Damask II, Mr. Kashi Lo, was found here in the Alabastian ambassador's office. Through our investigation, we found that the murder weapon was this Primadux statue, and that this is actually Babal's statue. This case, no matter how I look at it, sick. Then there's no one else who could have pulled this off.
Objection!
Agent Lang, do you understand the full implications of what you are saying? Of course I do, sis. And I'm serious. You were on the trail of the smuggling ring and you wanted any evidence you could find. And so while people were distracted by the Yanagarasu's appearance, you snuck in here. That's when you two ran into each other. You and that other thief who took advantage of the confusion from the fire.
Objection!
Even if all that were true, how do you explain the movement of the weapons? Don't worry. I plan to show that you're the culprit behind that, too. You had permission to investigate both embassies at will. With that kind of free reign, you could have easily taken the weapons across country lines. Hey now! Look, sis, I thought I already told you. I'm not messing around here. This case isn't directly tied to the smuggling ring. But Shihla certainly is tied to the smuggling ring. He is right in saying that she is a member of the smuggling ring. However, the connection between this case and the ring, could it not be deeper than what any of us can imagine? Good. Let's get this ridiculous circus over with already. Franziska, you need to calm down. Because you only know the facts of the Alabastian side of the case. I don't believe you can see the case as a whole, and therefore solve it. What? But don't worry. I am taking this seriously as well, and I will prove your innocence. That's the only way to be, Mr. Prosecutor. But can you come up with anything else that can top my hypothesis? Of course your explanation has to solve the mystery of the moving weapons as well. Of course, and I will. Let us now delve into the truth behind the murder of Damask II. You do understand, don't you, Miles Edgeworth? This isn't just a confrontation against Agent Lang. If you can't figure out how the murder of Damask II is related to the smuggling ring, then it will mean the end of our investigation. As long as I have no good counter-argument to this hypothesis, then the best I can do is walk this thin tightrope and see what I can do. Come on, Mr. Prosecutor, let's get started! Yes, let's. Testimony. Border crossing weapons. One of Alabast's knives was used in Babal to murder Mr. Cochin. And the murder weapon in the killing of Damask II is Babal's Primadux statue. Somehow these two objects were able to penetrate the two countries' impenetrable security. The only one who could traverse the two countries just before and after the crimes was you. So as long as I can't explain how the weapons moved about, Franziska will remain a suspect? You got it, Mr. Prosecutor. So why don't you stop giving me a hard time? Under these circumstances, who the heck can carry a weapon across country lines? I've worked through every possibility, but there's only one that's plausible. Your boss. Agent Lang, what I've learned from you is just now is that you lost sight of yourself. What are you talking about? By focusing too intently on that which is in front of us, we become blind to the truth. Don't tell me Lang Z never said anything to that effect. You prosecutor! Who do you think you are, speaking about Lang Z's proverbs like that? I don't need his proverbs, because my words are all you will need to see the truth. Rebuttal. Border crossing weapons. Yeah, we already know that. We already got our first mistake here. Babal's primitive statue? Last time I checked, it was the Alabas primitive statue.
Objection!
Wait, what? That's not it? That's not it? I thought it was. I legitimately thought that was. What else could it be? I really thought that was it. I gotta think about that a bit more. Hold on a second. Let's think about that for a second. Oh, wait! I think I was on the right track, but I presented it on the wrong statement. Let's try this again.
Objection!
There we go. That's my fault. Sorry. Agent Lang, those two items are not the only two to cross the border tonight. Oh? Damask 2 is killed with a Babal's primitive statue, yes. But if that's the case, then tell me, where did Alabar's primitive statue go? To Babal! Precisely. And if the two statues really were switched, then this means that both statues were smuggled across the border at some point. Which means that a total of 3 items were smuggled across the embassies. I guess... Is that really true? Was there anyone else who traveled between the two countries? Actually, there was definitely another person. One who paid a visit to both sides of the wall. Yep. Is that really so, Agent Lang? What a lousy time to try and bluff your way out of this. I checked out what the guard said, along with the security camera's footage. You're not going to overthrow my hypothesis that easily. But suppose there was some other way other than through the theater doors. What other way? The other entity that managed to cross the border unharmed. If I pointed out, it would open up a whole new possibility. And though I hesitate to bring this out, as long as this entity exists, the impossible road becomes a possibility. It looks like you've got some clever idea in mind. I do. And I can show it to you through a single piece of evidence. Fine then. Let's see this piece of evidence that'll show me this other route. This piece of evidence will show us another way to the moon between the two countries. Remember that photo with the Yadagarasu? If you remember, if you were to look, we have the embassy of Alabasta and the embassy of Babal. So there is a way for them to get over there. But for the sake of why not, we'll do the photo of Yadagarasu. Agent Klein, I'm sure you are familiar with this unforgettable photo. That supernatural photo? Like I said before, humans can't fly. No, of course not. I understand that perfectly well. And don't start claiming that Shihla somehow grew wings either. I wouldn't dream of claiming that. And I won't allow you to take back what you've said either. I'll say it again. It's not humanly possible to fly through the air without wings. So you'd better have a good explanation for this, Mr. Prosecutor. But how can I prove it was that flew through the air this photo? Wait, not humanly possible? Eureka! Very well. You will have your explanation. It sounds like you have a good idea simmering inside that head of yours. Let's hear it. The face hidden within this photo's blurry trailed shadow is... Everybody knows what it is here. Earlier, the Alabasta statue.
Take that!
Naturally, the shadow is the third smuggled object, the primitive statue replica. You can't be serious! The Yadagarasu, or rather, Kalisa Yu dressed as Agent Shihla, was inside Babal. She dressed a replica a statue up in clothes and launched it through the air. Ha! Mr. Prosecutor! You left out a very crucial bit in your explanation. I know I did. She launched it through the air? Ha! And how exactly did she do that? He's literally bringing his fangs at me. But he has a point. How exactly did it move through the air like that? As long as this remains unsolved, we won't be able to move any closer to the truth. Which reminds me, didn't he say this earlier? Hey sis, I remember that just before Ambassador Alba went to give his speech, he called you in his office, right? So just before the murder, Francisco was called here, right into this very room. If that's the case, then what may be another avenue I can pursue? Then that may be another avenue I can pursue. Agent Lang, in order for me to answer that question, I will need to hear my testimony from Miss Von Karma. Oh? What are you up to now, pretty boy? Earlier you mentioned something of interest to me. You said that just before the murder occurred, Miss Von Karma had been in this room because Ambassador Alba had called for her. And for that reason alone, you believe her to be the killer. Yeah, I guess I did say something like that. In that case, I believe it is my duty to ask her what her side of the story is. Ha! Do you really think a criminal would tell us the honest truth? How dare you! As I've said numerous times, there's absolutely no proof that I am the killer. Miles Edgeworth, don't shoot, I don't know. Hold on a second. Let me get a drink. Not a bit of it, I'm tired. Miles Edgeworth, don't tell me you suspect me too. I don't. However, I can't ignore the fact that you were in this room at one point in time, which is why I would like to hear about it from you. Franziska, I feel that I still don't have enough information, which is why your testimony is incredibly important to the outcome of this case. Alright. So, what would you like me to talk about? I'd like you to please testify to your movements up until you came into this room. Alright, let's try your way for a change. But if what she has to say turns out to be a waste of time, I'll place her under arrest. I'll place her under arrest faster than you can how. No! As you wish. Testimony. Movements in Alabast. As I said earlier, I was assigned to guard duty in the Alabastian embassy. I saw the steel samurai hat off my hat on his way towards the ambassador's office. I returned to the rose garden for a bit and checked up on the security system. After all the preparations were in place, I was called back by Ambassador Alba to show his. After all the preparations were in place, I was called back by Ambassador Alba to his office. Franziska, I want to make this clear from the very beginning. So what I wish to confirm is that the only time spans in which you were really, in case you were in the office, yeah, sorry. Let's see here. So what I wish to confirm is that the only time span in which you were in this office was before the murder occurred. Is that correct? Wait, hold on a second. Man, I'm just feeling a bit tired or something. I needed, that's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and move on. Was before the murder occurred, is that correct? Yes, of course. I see. But now the only way that I can see for us to break out of this situation is to ask Franziska about her testimony in more detail. Oh, excuse me. Oh man, jeezy cow, man, that is getting kind of annoying right now. It's kind of in a... Anyway, movements in Alabast. As I said earlier, I was assigned to guard duty in the Alabastian temple. After I saw the steel samurai off his way towards the ambassador's office, I returned to the rose garden for a bit and checked out the security system. Wait a minute. I'm having a... I returned to the rose garden for a bit and checked up on the security systems. After all the preparations were in place, I was called back by Ambassador Alba to his office. The primitive statues were already switched by the time the murder happened. In light of that fact, what Franziska saw in before the real crime. Mm. Right. In light of that fact, what Franziska saw in this room before the crime is proof of excitement. Yeah, I'm starting to feel taken out even with the pot that I'm drinking. It's not really doing much. Just saw this room before. It's of incredible importance. Alright, hold on a second. Trying to think about this. I'm feeling a little bit tired. It's not really a good idea, is it? Oh, wrong button. Oh, I did it again. Damn, I need to stop doing that.
Hold it!
Alright, here we go. At that time, the Mask 2's body had yet to be found in this room, is that correct? That's right. But Ambassador Alba was here. One could hardly miss his rather large presence. A criminal will say anything to get out of getting arrested. How do we know you're not lying? Well, if you dare proof, I'd be happy to oblige you. Seriously? Why can't I keep telling you? When I arrived to this, saying all this stuff, the office Ambassador Alba is already here. You're standing by the flower box on the windowsill, wearing this plate. During this planting, He was standing by the flower box on the windowsill wearing his plants. Oh, I can attest to that. I remember speaking with the lovely lady around that time here in my office. Alright then. Add that statement to your testimony and let's hear some details. Ambassador Alba was in the room at this time. When I arrived, Ambassador Alba was watering the The flowers on the windowsill. That primitive statue seems very lifelike. Seriously, switches and the literal happened. In light of on that fateful day when Francisco came before the crime, it's sovereignly incredibly intense that uh hmm. Can I stop just staring blankly at the screen for no reason? Can I stop doing that? Hmm. Actually, I'm gonna be right back. I can feel it coming. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. I can feel it coming right now. So I'm gonna take a quick breather and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry that took a good amount of time. I was keeping it on my wood burner, had to use the restroom, and decided to save my piece on something that I will not talk about here because of reasons. But anyway,
Hold it!
for the sake of being thorough, I'd like to ask you something. How did you know that Ambassador Alba was watering his plants at the windowsill? What do you mean by that? The entrance to this room is on this side, however, the window is on the opposite side. If what you say is true, then when you entered the room, his body would have been like a wall. He would have been blocking your view of what he was doing. Isn't that not correct? I suppose it was a bit hard to see around him. But fortunately for me, Ambassador Alba is not an immovable wall. I knocked before I entered, and as I did, he turned around to greet me, with a watering can in his hand. So it's only natural to believe that he was watering his plants, right? I suppose. After his greeting, we spent a little time talking about his flowers. He had obtained them himself and is growing them with the utmost care, you know. Yes, the plants in this room, they are all like my children. The passion flowers in the flower box on the windowsill are growing beautifully too. All 4 of them are in full bloom. This one, comma. What did you say just now? I said that the flowers are growing beautifully. What about that statement do you not understand? What do I not understand? I do not understand things the way it is. I'd like for you to append that statement to your testimony. Very well. There were 4 large passion flowers in full bloom in the flower box. That's a bit of a problem. Where is it? Oh, there they are. Right here. There are 2 large flowers. Where's the other 2?
Objection!
Franziska. For some odd reason, your testimony contradicts with this piece of evidence. It does appear that way. Ha! I knew it! I knew we couldn't trust your words, sis! Mr. Edgeworth! What are you doing discrediting Miss Von Karma like this? Yes, sir! If you keep this up, she's gonna get taken away, sir! All I've done is state what I saw. I have not made a single mistake in my testimony. And for this, I am still under suspicion for murder. Is the number of flowers really all that important at this juncture, Miles? At the very least, it is a contradiction in this enigmatic case. One that I find hard to dismiss as irrelevant. Ha! Then let's hear it, Mr. Prosecutor. What does the number of flowers have to do with anything? What does it prove? I believe the answer to that will become clear if we were to examine that flower box. How did this contradiction come about? There must be something behind this discrepancy. They're my beloved flowers. I've grown them with the utmost care. So I ask that you please be gentle with them as you examine them, Mr. Edgeworth. I understand. I won't trust until I've inspected every suspicious looking nook and cranny. The name of these flowers. I believe they're called passion flowers. Despite being called flowers, they're actually a species of vine. They appear to be growing well, and are well supported by these plant supports. Yeah, but no matter how I look at it, it looks like there are only two here to me. You realize, don't you, sis? Your little lie has failed you. Ugh. Miles Edgeworth! Hurry up and shut this man up for me already! I suppose I will need to use some evidence to shut him up, won't I? Oh, we can do that, actually. I believe I have just the piece of evidence you require. Oh? You do you? You have such confidence in that face of your current plight. But I highly doubt it'll last until the end. You howl like a wolf, Agent Lang. But we will see if you have any bite to back up that bath after you see the evidence. The truth of passion flowers revealed can be seen in this piece of evidence. So if you notice there are dirts on those tips of the hair sticks. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Take that!
Shihna, who was supposedly in Babal the entire time, had these hair sticks on her. That look exactly like the plant supports in this flower box. In other words, I believe it could be said that these hair sticks are in actuality support sticks for the passion flowers. And so what? Is this really all that important to the case? Of course it is. It means that we found yet another item that was smuggled between the countries tonight. Ayah! Think about it logically, Agent Lang. These sticks were originally in alabaster, but somehow they wound up in Shihna's hands, who was in Babal the whole night. So make no mistake, these sticks were smuggled somehow, just like the knife and statue. Very well then. I want to hear from you exactly how they wound up in Babal. How did these support sticks find their way to Babal and why? There must be some reason as to why they ended up here. Aha! So that's why. Agent Lang, if you would please take a look at this and tell me its shape. It's just another stick, isn't it? And so it is. But the shape of the support sticks is what is important. For when they are used with something in this room, that's when a goal comes into focus. And the object that completes the picture when used with the support sticks is the crossbow. They're Robin Hooding this shit.
Eureka!
That's a crossbow. Wait! You're not really suggesting... I am. Or rather, plant support sticks. They made for perfect arrows. Yeah! I've done it. I found the common thread that connects the two offices. But this thread is yet to be completely untangled. Even using the arrows, how does this explain how the statues were transported? Mr. Prosecutor, hold up a second. You do realize what happens when you tie a statue to an arrow, right? They don't fly at all! Argument. Border crossing part 2. Silver Ball's statue is draped in the Yatagarasu's clothes, and then shot over here. Even if you fired the arrows from this side, they wouldn't go far with a statue tied to them. I don't think I need to tell you that the Primaduke statues didn't sprout wings. You're a realist after all, aren't you? The Primaduke statues didn't sprout wings? Of course they didn't. Glad you understand. I feel much better already. I was afraid for a second that you were unaware of that crucial fact. It's only crucial because you're under the belief that wings are necessary to this equation. What? You need to free your mind a bit more and let it fly like a bird on the wind. The Primaduke statues flew, but not on a wing. Allow me a bit of your time, and I'll explain this mysterious phenomenon to you. Rebuttal. Border Crossing Part 2. Don't really need to say that. Hold
it!
But we are in agreement that an arrow by itself would reach the other side, correct? But just the arrow by itself is pretty meaningless, don't you think, Mr. Prosecutor? Because the things they wanted to smuggle were a lot bigger than nothing. No, that's not necessarily true. What? What I need right now is not further discussion of my conclusions. It's the launching of my conclusions. What the shooter wanted to launch with the crossbow is not these statues themselves, but rather something a crossbow can launch that can be used to move the statues. If it wasn't a statue that was tied to the arrows, then what did the crossbow launch? That's easy. How would you be able to move the crossbows or the statues without something to balance it out? That's where the wire comes in.
Objection!
Finally, we have reached this point in our discussion. For I present to you that which was carried by the arrow from the crossbow. I get it now, Mr. Prosecutor. I can see exactly what you are trying to say. You're saying that the wire was tied to an arrow and then shot into Mr. Cochin's office. All the way from the 5th floor of the Alabastian Embassy down to the 3rd floor of the Ablaze Embassy. If what you're claiming is really what happened, I can see how Alabast's Primaduke statue could be moved. Gravity could be used to move the statue down the wire from the 5th to the 3rd floor. But then, what about Babal's Primaduke statue? The dark shadow in this photo is clearly flying away from Babal, going into the opposite way of gravity from the 3rd and 5th floor of the Babalese Embassy up to the 5th floor of the Alabastian Embassy. How do you explain that? Aha. I think I finally see how the gears behind this whole trick work. Agent Lang, the motion used behind this trick. I wonder if perhaps you have yet to envision how it works in your head. Motion? What motion? This is the motion that was employed to smuggle Babal's Primaduke statue. Well, it wouldn't be swing motion because that statue would be falling down faster than the speed of light. And it couldn't be bungee action because again it would be going down. It would be going up, but not by much. So it'd be rotary motion. I believe it was done by a rotary motion. If the two statues were transported simultaneously... Simultaneously? Get real! The statues would collide somewhere along the way.
Objection!
Did I ever say that there was only one line of wire between the two offices? If you shot an arrow with two ends of a wire tied to it, a circular belt can be formed. Lenzi says, don't object and call a success what is beyond reasonability. Taking into account the tension difference between the two wires. The top one would sag too much to the point where the statues would collide anyway. Agent Lang. As you know, the primitive statue is a one-of-a-kind national treasure. And the fact that Babal's statue is a hollow replica of the real statue, it would naturally be lighter than the real one, meaning that my idea is very possible. Lane Z says, "Ooh!" Here's what I believe happened. Miss Yu and a mystery co-conspirator set themselves up into two different rooms. The co-conspirator bridged the rooms by shooting the two ends of the wire down on one arrow. Then the two of them covered the statues and proceeded to transport the statues. After the switch was completed, another arrow was fired, carrying the other end of the wire down to Babal, where it was to be disposed of. And to do that, Miss Yu hid it inside the grandfather clock QED. Ha! This proves it, right, Agent Lang? That I'm not the killer. Not yet, sis. I still haven't had my dessert yet. Right, Mr. Prosecutor? The proof is in the pudding, as it were. Pudding is a nice dessert. So, do you think you can do it? Can you prove that what you said is what happened? Because remember, if you can't, I'll be taking a certain someone back home with me as a souvenir. I agree that as long as there is no proof, my hypothesis remains just that. However, what I have laid out is no mere hypothesis, for there is one more piece of evidence. One more? This should be interesting. You think you have a piece of evidence that will turn your hypothesis into fact? Well then, let's see it, Mr. Prosecutor. The thing that made it possible to create a circular belt out of a length of wire. I believe that it is right here in this very room. Now then, I believe this is what made the circular belt transportation method possible. Do we really need to guess what it is? No? I didn't think so. It's the ceiling. The ceiling fan. Ha! Looks like you dropped another bomb on us again. The last piece to the trick are two pulleys. Precisely. The ceiling fans double as pulleys in this case. And thanks to the fact that there is one installed in each of the offices. The ceiling fans made for the perfect pulley set for the wire to run on. This must be it. This is how the smugglers bypass the impenetrable security. You really are something else, Mr. Prosecutor. I bet you figured it all out already, haven't you? You know who the big hotshot that set up this real-life stage show is, don't you? The person who set this up, this rather large and complex stage show. Needs to be someone who had full knowledge of the existence of a ceiling fan in both the Alabastian and Bavani's offices. And that passion flower support stakes could be used as arrows. The real mastermind behind this case. Well, don't you dare make this wolf wait for his food. Why are you so hesitant, Miles Edgeworth? If you can't say who it is, why don't you present something like you always do? A single point of the finger here, and this case will explode into an international incident. However, it's already too late for me to stop the forward momentum. It appears that I have no choice now, but to rush in. There is a piece of evidence that will point us to who the mysterious mastermind is. It's very obvious. The crossbow arrows, since they had dirt, they would be involved in the passion flowers. And since the passion flowers were grown by Ambassador Alba, you know where I'm going with this, let's do it. This smuggling could not have been possible without the use of the crossbow. Furthermore, the arrows that were shot by the crossbow were plucked, as it were, from the flower box in this very room. They were planted so long ago that the passion flowers had time to grow so big that Miss Von Karma didn't even notice the arrows when she visited this room today. On top of all this, the fact that the culprit knew that both officers had ceiling fans tells us that the person has very detailed information on the embassy's layout. So as you may have already guessed, the person I am accusing of hatching this plan is the person who grew the flowers in the flower box with the utmost care. Thus it can only be you, Quercus Alba! Huh? Are you out of your mind, Miles Edgeworth? I'm certain of what I am saying, and I'm sure that he is the culprit. Tell me, Mr. Prosecutor, what was the ambassador trying to accomplish by doing all that stuff you just outlined? Why in the world would he need to use a trick like that? I understand your need to doubt me. However, there is one thing that stands out to me as very odd. Just one thing, huh? The one single end result Ambassador Alba sought to obtain. If we were to examine the focus of this complex trick, I believe we will finally find the answer to everything. Everything will become clear once we examine this piece of evidence. Do we really need to take a long guess what it is? No? I didn't think so. Alabaster primitive statue. I would fully understand the reasoning had the situation been the reverse. However, to go through the trouble of swapping the real primitive statue for the fake, I sense a very shady reason for such a bizarre action. And who better to ask for that reason than King Primadux himself? I see. Ambassador, we will be examining that statue now with or without your permission. This guy kind of looks like the Steel Samurai, don't you think? Maybe it's because they look alike that he was the Goodwill Ambassador? I suppose that's possible. Take a look at this area around the base of his neck. It looks like a gap. Hey, you're right! Maybe it's meant to be some kind of secret? Perhaps it's possible to open the statue from this gap in its construction. What? Hurry up and open it, Miles! Alright, here goes. think it is? It's a plate for making counterfeit bills. Somehow, it appears that we've at long last arrived at the exit to this complex labyrinth. We finally hold within our hands one of the counterfeit money plates. And the reason why the replica was smuggled into Ablaze to begin with. Counterfeit plate data jotted down in my organizer. This was found from within the fake primitive statue Alba smuggled into his country. The primitive statue can only be handled by the ambassador or the secretariat, and the replica is nothing more than a hollow shell covered in gold. These two circumstances make the statue the ideal object in which to hide contraband. After receiving the statue containing the counterfeit plate from Shirla, the ambassador had the misfortune of accidentally running into Damask too. Surprised by the thief, the ambassador raised the replica statue at Damask too, and then, in order to frame the steel samurai of the murder, he covered the samurai's sword in blood. Well, Ambassador Alba, you're the leader of the smuggling ring? My country is a mess, and it's all because of you? You're the one who killed Damask too? Answer us! I never thought that you would figure things out to this level. However, there is one point I disagree with you on. The head of the smuggling ring was Mr. Cochin. Quit screwing around! I have no sympathy for someone who would try to pass the guilt onto a dead man. If there is one thing I'm sure of, it's that you're the real ringleader, Quercus Alba. It's not good to speak with such subjectivity, you know, Agent Lang. Subjectivity? My conclusion is anything but. Flip-floppy logic any real weight, do you? It looks like you still don't get why I came back. Excuse me? You see, the reason I came back is so that I could sink my fangs into your wrinkly old neck. From the very beginning, my real target has been you. What? Agent Lang, I demand an explanation. Sorry, sis, I didn't mean to put you through all that. I knew you were innocent from the very beginning. You did? I knew that this whole incident had been meticulously planned and prepared for. So naturally, the occupant of this room, Ambassador Alba, seemed the most suspicious. But without the ambassador's permission, we couldn't get in to take another look around. Ah, so that's why you put on this big show to accuse Francisco of the murder. Using Francisco as the bait, you were able to gain us entry and investigative rights. Yeah, if I hadn't done that, I doubt the ambassador would have given the okay to poke around. So that's what all this was about. Very well, I will forgive you. But in exchange for using me as bait, you will take some responsibility and help us find the truth. Agent Lang, for giving me such a great opening, I thank you. You know, I just knew, Mr. Prosecutor, that somehow if we were able to find some proof by investigating this room, that you would be able to figure out the real culprit with your special brand of logic. The evidence detectives collect combined with the logic of a prosecutor. That's just as it should be in a prosecutor-detective team, right? I don't know about all that. But one thing I do know is that I'm itching to see that old man get what's coming to him. Ho ho! You're quite scary when you want to be, aren't you? Hey, you were the one who was planning to use me to push on the dirt onto the sis. But unfortunately for you, you misjudged me. Agent Lang, I wish for you to stop trying to intimidate me. What we need right now is evidence and proof. I wonder if you have what is necessary to prove that I am the head of the smuggling ring.
Objection!
Don't be such a sore loser. If you really are the head of the smuggling ring, then you should acknowledge your crimes with dignity. Dignity? That is nothing more than a fool's and sincere display of strength. If you really wish for me to acknowledge my crimes, then I would like to first see some of this you call evidence. I tell you, I knew nothing. Really. I didn't even know that a counterfeit plate was hidden inside that statue.
Objection!
You swapped a real statue that vested in your country the authority to rule for a faith. It doesn't make any sense that you didn't know anything. It doesn't make sense? Where doesn't it make sense? Can you prove that it doesn't make sense? Uh-oh, I see for the first time ever we got that issue going. How far back did it do that? Ah, okay. So it's not too far. Alright. I'll be right back. I'm actually going to take a little bit of a break because I am getting a little bit tired. So give me a few minutes and then I'll be back on at 2 o'clock. Alright? Sorry about that.